Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in each of our lives when we are faced with a choice: to stand still in fear, or to rise in faith, to allow the world to define us, or to define ourselves. Becoming unstoppable isn't about never falling. It's about learning to rise again and again with deeper wisdom and a stronger spirit. Today, I want to talk to you about how you can become truly unstoppable, not just in what you do, but in who you are. Let us begin with the most essential truth. You must know your why, your reason, your center, the deep purpose that moves you when no one is watching. Without it, life can easily feel like a series of random events, hardships, victories, disappointments, all disconnected. But when you have a purpose, everything begins to align. Now, you may be asking, how do I find that purpose? It's not always a grand moment. It's often quiet. Purpose reveals itself through your curiosity, your passions, your pain, and your persistence. It's in the moments when you lose track of time doing something you love. It's in the issues that make your heart ache or your blood boil. It's in the experiences that tested you yet taught you. Purpose isn't just a job title. It's not just a goal. Purpose is a compass. When you're tired, it gives you direction. When you're doubting, it reminds you who you are. People who are unstoppable don't necessarily have more talent, more intelligence, or more resources, but they do have clarity about why they're here and what they're meant to contribute. Let me take you deeper. Imagine you're in a small boat in the middle of a foggy sea. The waves are rising, the wind is loud, and you can't see the shore. That's what life feels like without purpose, chaotic, uncertain. But now imagine a lighthouse in the distance, steady shining, calling you forward. That lighthouse is your why. It doesn't move. It doesn't flicker. It doesn't change based on the weather or opinions of others. It simply guides. That is the first step in becoming unstoppable. Find your lighthouse. Purpose fuels resilience. When you know what you stand for, you are less shaken by what you go through. You become someone who doesn't quit at the first sign of failure. Because failure, in the presence of purpose, becomes a lesson, not a label. Let me be very clear. This journey isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about embracing the detours, the mistakes, the moments when nothing made sense, because often those are the very moments that shape you. Every detour has a lesson. Every delay has a reason. And every breakdown has the seed of a breakthrough if you're willing to learn. Education, in its truest form, is not about memorizing facts. It is about self-awareness, self-discovery, and growth. It's about becoming wise enough to ask the right questions and brave enough to answer them truthfully. That's where becoming unstoppable truly begins, not with external achievements, but with inner alignment. Ask yourself, what brings me joy? What injustice makes me restless? What work would I do even if no one applauded me? When you begin to answer those questions honestly, you uncover the threads of your unique calling. And once you do, you begin to walk in the world differently, not arrogantly, but assuredly, because you are not living by accident, but by intention. And here's what happens when you live with intention: people notice. Not because you're loud, but because you're lit from within. People may try to discourage you. Life may try to distract you, but the light in you will shine brighter than the noise around you. Ladies and gentlemen, becoming unstoppable is not a destination. It's a practice, a decision you make every day to keep going, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. It's waking up every morning and choosing to remember who you are, why you started, and what legacy you want to leave behind. It's understanding that obstacles are not the end, they are part of the path. You may have heard it said, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. What that means is this: every challenge is an invitation to grow, to expand, to become more of who you truly are, purpose turns pain into power. Purpose transforms trials into triumphs. Purpose is what makes you resilient when others retreat. It's what keeps you focused when distractions tempt you. It's what reminds you you are here for something greater. So, I encourage you, whether you are at the beginning of your journey or standing in the middle of a storm, do not shrink. Do not settle. Do not wait for permission to become who you already are. Begin where you are, with what you have, and build from there. Read, reflect, ask questions. Stay curious. Let education, in all its forms, guide you closer to your purpose. And when you find it, hold it close. Nurture it. Honor it. Because once you truly know your why, once you are anchored in purpose, there is nothing and no one that can stop you. Let us tell the truth about adversity. It is uncomfortable. It is inconvenient. And for most of us, it feels unfair. Yet adversity, more than any textbook or teacher, has the power to awaken us, to grow us, to transform us from the inside out. When you truly understand this, when you begin to see challenges not as punishment, but as preparation, you unlock a new level of power within yourself. You begin to turn adversity into fuel. Now I want you to imagine this. You plant a seed in the soil. The seed doesn't grow the moment it's placed there. It needs pressure from the earth above, time in the dark, nourishment from deep roots. That's how growth begins, unseen, uncelebrated, and uncomfortable. But eventually, with the right conditions, that seed pushes through the soil and reaches for the light. That's exactly what adversity can do for you if you allow it. One of the biggest myths we're taught is that hardship is a sign of failure. But what if I told you that hardship is often the birthplace of strength? That the storm you're going through could be shaping you for something greater than you can currently see? Real education isn't just learning facts and figures. It's learning how to endure, how to pivot, and how to find wisdom in the wounds. There's something about adversity that reveals character. When everything is going well, it's easy to be confident. It's easy to smile. But it's in the moments of struggle, the losses, the disappointments, the rejections that we see what we're truly made of. That is the moment where we meet ourselves. And if we choose to stay open in that moment to not become bitter or defeated, but curious and committed, we begin to transform. Now, I'm not saying pain is easy. I'm not saying you should enjoy the hardship, but I'm saying you can use it. Because pain always comes with two choices. It can break you, or it can build you. And if you ask the right questions in the midst of pain, what is this trying to teach me? What is this preparing me for? Then pain becomes a professor. Adversity also has the power to redirect. Sometimes the setback is actually a setup for a new direction. You lose the job, and it hurts. But that loss pushes you to finally pursue your dream. You get passed over, and you feel unseen. But that rejection teaches you how to advocate for yourself in ways you never have before. What seems like the end can actually be the beginning, if you have the courage to look deeper. Ladies and gentlemen, growth rarely feels good in the moment. Growth stretches you. It challenges you. It pushes you to become more aware, more resilient, more grounded. But the lessons learned in adversity are often the ones that stay with us the longest. Why? Because they're earned. They're lived. They're real. Every person who has ever accomplished anything meaningful has a chapter of their story they don't enjoy revisiting, a chapter full of struggle, full of silence, full of wondering whether it's even worth continuing. And yet, it is in those chapters that the foundation of greatness is laid. Let's take a moment to speak truth to the idea of transformation. Transformation is not a magical event. It doesn't happen all at once. It is a process of becoming, of slowly shedding the old layers of doubt, fear, and insecurity, and stepping into the truth of who you are. And often, adversity is what begins that process. because adversity strips away the unnecessary. It shows us what truly matters. It teaches us to stop chasing perfection and start embracing progress. It also gives us empathy. When you've been through something, you understand others differently. You listen more deeply. You become more compassionate. That is the silent gift of adversity. It expands your heart. And in a world that needs more kindness, more understanding, that kind of growth is not just personal, it's powerful. I want to speak to those who are in it right now. The ones who feel like nothing is going right. The ones who feel like the world has forgotten them. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. The pain you feel now may just be the push that launches you into your purpose. And if you feel like giving up, let me offer this. Hold on. Not because it's easy, but because you are worth the fight. Your dreams are worth the fight. Your future is worth the fight. And on the other side of this adversity, there is a stronger, wiser, more powerful version of you waiting to emerge. So how do we turn adversity into fuel? We choose to learn from it. We choose to rise anyway. We choose to rewrite the narrative, not as victims, but as victors. We take the lessons, the scars, the strength we gain, and we use them to light the way, not just for ourselves, but for others coming behind us. Because when you've made it through the fire, you don't just walk, you shine. And your light becomes a beacon for someone else trying to find their way through the dark. There's a quiet power that lives inside each of us. A power that doesn't shout, doesn't demand attention, but when activated, can move mountains. That power is your mindset, your way of thinking, believing, and perceiving the world and yourself within it. If you truly want to become unstoppable, if you want to rise above mediocrity and create a life of purpose and impact, you must learn to cultivate a mindset of excellence and unwavering self-belief. Excellence is not about perfection. It is about intention. It is about choosing to show up fully, not just when it's easy, not just when you're praised, but consistently. It's about how you carry yourself when no one is watching, how you treat people when you have nothing to gain, and how you approach your work, your relationships, and your goals with care, focus, and heart. Now let's talk about mindset. Your mindset is the lens through which you interpret your life. It determines whether you see obstacles or opportunities, whether you view failure as a dead end or a detour, whether you believe you're worthy of success or secretly doubt your own value. The difference between someone who thrives and someone who merely survives often comes down to this: what they believe is possible for them. And here's the truth. The world will reflect what you believe about yourself. If you believe you're not enough, you will find evidence to support that. If you believe you're capable, even when you're not sure how you will take steps, you will take risks, and you will grow. Excellence is born in that space. That internal decision to believe, to keep believing, and to act on that belief, even in the face of fear. We often hear about confidence, as if it's something you either have or you don't. But confidence is not a gift. It is a practice. It is built one decision, one act of courage, one small success at a time. You don't wait until you feel confident to begin. You begin, and the confidence follows. Cultivating a mindset of excellence means choosing growth over comfort. It means choosing long-term reward over short-term pleasure. It's staying disciplined even when motivation fades. It's saying, I will not shrink to fit into spaces that require me to be less than who I am. Because when you operate with excellence, you don't just do enough to get by, you give your best because that's who you are. But let's be honest, believing in yourself doesn't always come naturally. Many of us have been taught to play small, to dim our light, to wait for permission. We've internalized messages sometimes from society, sometimes from family, sometimes from our own self-criticism that tell us we're not ready, not smart enough, not talented enough. And over time, we start to live from that script. But the good news is, you can rewrite the script. You can choose to reframe those messages. Instead of, I'm not good enough, try I'm learning and growing every day. Instead of, I can't do this, say I can figure this out. The brain is powerful, but it listens to what you say. Speak life over your dreams. Speak power over your purpose. Speak truth over your fears. Education plays a powerful role here, not just in terms of academics, but in the way we educate ourselves about who we are and what we're capable of. Read things that challenge your thinking. Surround yourself with people who expand your vision. Learn from your failures. Reflect on your choices. That is education in its purest form, continuous, intentional, self-directed learning, and it strengthens the foundation of self-belief. And understand this, belief is contagious. When you carry yourself with confidence, with excellence, with intention, people around you feel it. They may not always understand it. They may not always celebrate it, but they will feel it. And that energy has the power to shift conversations, open doors, and inspire others to rise as well. There is a myth that confidence looks like arrogance, or that believing in yourself means you think you're better than others. That couldn't be further from the truth. True self-belief is quiet. It is grounded. It doesn't need validation to exist. It allows you to celebrate others without questioning your own worth. It gives you the strength to stand alone if needed and still know you belong. You see, when you believe in yourself deeply, you no longer wait to be chosen. You choose yourself. You no longer ask, am I allowed to do this? You say, this matters, and I will do it. That's the difference. That is what separates people who wish from people who create. It's not luck. It's mindset. It's a commitment to showing up again and again, even when the results aren't instant. Excellence is a habit. Self-belief is a habit. And both require daily practice. Speak kindly to yourself. Set high standards for yourself not because you want to impress others, but because you respect yourself. Show up prepared. Be willing to ask for help when you need it. And most of all, refuse to let fear decide your future. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to become unstoppable, train your mind like you would train your body. Feed it with truth. Stretch it with learning. Rest it with grace. Strengthen it with action. Because when you combine a mindset of excellence with unwavering self-belief, there is nothing, truly nothing, that can stand in your way. There is something profoundly powerful about a single life, fully lived. A life where purpose, resilience, and belief come together to create something unshakable. But what makes a life truly transformative is not just what it accomplishes, but what it awakens in others. You see, when you become unstoppable, when you dare to rise, grow, and evolve in the face of challenges, you don't just elevate yourself. You create a ripple effect that has the power to uplift everyone around you. We often think of leadership in terms of titles or positions. But the most influential kind of leadership begins with example. When people witness someone who refuses to quit, who rises from failure, who walks in purpose and excellence, it shifts something in them. It gives them permission to do the same. It says, if they can rise, maybe I can too. Every time you choose to stand in your truth, every time you show up with courage and authenticity, you send a quiet message into the world. Strength is not about being flawless. It's about being real. And that message reaches people in ways you may never fully see. There is a myth that we have to be perfect before we can inspire others, that we must have it all figured out before we can make an impact. But the truth is, people aren't moved by perfection. They are moved by presence. They are moved by your willingness to keep showing up, even when you're unsure. They are moved by your journey, not just your destination. When you grow, the people around you begin to see what's possible. When you raise your standards, it challenges others to reflect on theirs. When you pursue your vision with focus and integrity, you give others the courage to stop settling. And when you become the kind of person who doesn't fold under pressure, who learns from every loss, who honors their purpose, others start to ask, what might be possible for me if I did the same? You don't have to be famous to have influence. You don't have to have a platform to create change. Your classroom, your home, your community. These are the stages where transformation begins. And it begins with how you live, how you speak, how you love, how you lead. We all carry a circle of influence, whether we realize it or not. Someone is always watching. A younger sibling, a coworker, a student, a friend. And the energy you bring into your life becomes part of theirs. That's the ripple. It's the quiet legacy we leave every single day, not just in what we accomplish, but in how we live. One of the most generous things you can do for the people around you is to heal, to grow, to dream again. Because your breakthrough becomes the blueprint for someone else. Your courage to rise after a fall shows someone that failure is not the end. Your decision to speak kindly to yourself, to prioritize your mental health, to believe in your own worth. These things are not selfish. They are powerful. They are revolutionary. And they are contagious. Imagine a world where people truly understood that their personal transformation is a gift to the collective. That by choosing to be better, stronger, wiser, not perfect, but whole, they are lighting the way for others. That's how movements begin. That's how change multiplies. Not all at once, but through everyday actions taken by ordinary people who dare to live extraordinarily. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the state of the world. Easy to believe that one person can't make a difference. But look at nature. Look at the ripple created by a single drop of water. That ripple moves outward, touching the surface far beyond where it started. You are that drop. Your decisions, your growth, your resilience, they don't stay confined to you. They touch your family, your peers, your community, and beyond. And don't underestimate the power of presence. Sometimes just being who you are is enough. Sometimes your ability to remain grounded in a storm reminds others that peace is possible. Sometimes your laughter after heartbreak gives someone hope that joy can return. Sometimes your steady belief in your dream gives others the faith to dust off their own. Education is not only about acquiring knowledge, it's about awakening potential. And one of the greatest ways we educate others is through our lives. You may never know who was watching when you chose integrity over shortcuts. You may never hear the story of the person who was inspired by your strength. But rest assured, the impact is real. Becoming unstoppable is not just a personal achievement. It is an act of service. It is a beacon that calls others forward. It is a declaration that no matter what the world throws at us, we will rise not just for ourselves, but for each other. And so, I challenge you. Be the ripple. Live boldly. Love fully. Lead gently. Teach by example. Let your life be a light that reminds people not only of who they are, but of who they could become. As we bring this message to a close, let us remember becoming unstoppable is not about being the loudest in the room or the most flawless in the spotlight. It is about being committed to your growth, even when no one is watching. It is about using adversity as your teacher, building a mindset rooted in excellence, and believing in yourself with a quiet, unshakable confidence. It is about recognizing that your journey is not just for you, but for every person who will be inspired by your courage to keep going. You are not here to simply survive the days. You are here to stretch, to reach, to create, to rise, and in rising you give others the permission to rise with you. That is the ripple. That is the legacy. So when the world tries to tell you to shrink, stand taller. When failure knocks, answer with purpose. When doubt whispers, speak truth louder. And above all, keep moving forward, not because the path is easy, but because what lies ahead is worth it.